Our next presenter is Dr. Ina Weinbauer-Heidel from Austria. And I first met Ina just over 2 years ago, and we were on a boat. We were on a boat in Stockholm Harbour, and I'd been doing some stuff in. They had this kind of downstairs dungeon with ropes on the wall. I tell you, no word of a lie. The ropes on the wall were so that you didn't slide down, because the rake in the theatre that we were working in was so steep you had to hang on as you walked from back to front or bow to stern or whatever it is. And up on the poop deck, I tell you no lie, was Ina in a bar with about 12 people. And talking about this stuff, and I thought her book had just come out, published only in German. It's now being translated and is available in English. I was really impressed by the rigor of the research which underpins what she talks about. So we're talking about how do we ensure the transfer of learning back into workplace performance, not just how do we measure it. So please welcome Ina Weinbauer-Heidel.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot, Robin. Hello, everybody. So what I would like to do today, or what I would like to share with you, is my passion for transfer research and transfer design. Because I'm absolutely fascinated by the fact that it is actually possible to systematically increase the impact of our training programs. So, a bit more precisely, there are 3 things which should have happened after this 40-minute session. The first is, you should know more about the research on what makes training really work and the 12 levers of transfer effectiveness. Second, you should have received at least 3 tools that can help you to further increase the effectiveness of your programs. So, for example, a self-check for manager, a simple transfer planning tool, and a third one. And I invite you to just try them if you feel like it. And the third thing is, you should know exactly what you are going to do next to further increase the effectiveness of your programs. But before we can do that, I need to feel you a little bit more. It's quite cold and lonely up here. So I prepared 2 questions for you. And instead of doing the arm-raising thing or the modern Slido version, I thought we are doing the humming voting. I don't know if you know the humming voting. So, let's give it a try. So please hum now. Ah, wonderful. What a great start. Perfect. So the first question is, what is your primary role in training? So if you're a trainer, instructional designer, or e-learning designer, please hum now. Okay, some are in here, thank you. What about training managers, L&D managers, or HR managers? Please hum now. Opala. Please hum now. Okay, some more. Do we have participants line manager in here? Please hum now. Maybe 1 or 2. So if we have some here, thanks for being here, because you have such an important role in making transfer happen, but we come back to that later. And do we have others here? So others, please hum now. Okay, some others, so I'm curious about which role you have or which role I have forgotten. Thank you. The second question is, now we are already quite close, we can be quite honest right now. Second question is, cross your heart, how well is your company doing in terms of training transfer? So would you say, yes, we achieve results that are both measurable and sustainable? Then please hum now. Okay. Phew, thank you. What about, would you say, I think there is still some improvement potential? Please hum now. Oh, okay. And now the really honest thing, transfer is clearly our weak spot. Okay, thank you. Because this third one is exactly how I felt several years ago. I worked at a well-known Austrian business school where I was responsible for designing customized MBA programs for leaders. I was so proud because those programs were expensive, yet still fully booked, so my boss was happy and so was I. and I could have had an easy life without this transfer thing. But unfortunately, there is this question that comes to our mind again and again, a question that probably every HR manager asks him or herself. And this is the question, how effective are my programs? Are we really changing behaviors? Do we really develop people? Does it even make sense what I'm doing here? And yeah, most of you have been there, so you know that this question of meaning doesn't let go of you that quickly, at least it did with me. And yeah, I started doing some research, and I was shocked to find out about the evaluation results of those big transfer researchers like Kirkpatrick and Robert Brinkoff and all the others. And if you ever have to explain the transfer problem to somebody in your company in less than a minute, I would suggest to take this picture from Professor Robert Brinkoff. He has 30 years of experience in evaluating this program, and he puts it that way. He says, on an average program, we have about 15% who try to apply what they have learned and then really get positive results. Then we have about 70% who try to apply things to some extent, but then give up because, yeah, it's not that easy. We fall back to old routines. Our colleagues look at us and say, okay, now you're back from your seminar. What crazy ideas do you have now? So you kind of give up again. And then you have about 15% who don't even try to apply it at all. So what Professor Brinkoff is telling us here is that on the average, in an average program, 85% gain no sustainable transfer success. And that is not satisfying at all, isn't it? But, and that's a great thing, Robert Brinkoff also gives us hope because he shows us that there are programs with these results. So we can also see that there are programs which have 85% sustainable transfer success. And when I talked with Rob about this, I thought, yeah, that is what I want. I want to know what it takes to get training programs that look like this. And as I wanted to do my PhD anyway, I thought, okay, now I'm going to find the holy grail of transfer success. Quite an easy idea. Yeah, it turned out quite soon that I was not the only one who is interested in this question, because transfer researchers have been dealing with this question for more than 110 years. And their results are really impressive. So they know extremely well what it takes to make transfer happen. But, now it's a bit paradox, they have a problem themselves. Transfer researchers claim that practitioners are not making use of their findings. So transfer research has a transfer problem. Yeah, and this is no wonder, as you will see in a second, because on the next slide I summed up for you more than 110 years of transfer research. So here we go. This is it. Bit confusing, isn't it? So let's sort it out. Transfer researchers agree that there are 3 areas which are important to make transfer happen. Trainees, so our participants, the training design, and really, really important and so often underestimated, the organization. So the organization where our participants work in. The workplace can untrain people far more efficiently than even the best training department can ever train people. Sorry, I'm standing in the way. Yeah, go ahead, but that's not the interesting part. Because for me, that was the depressing part. Because as we see, in those 3 areas, we have a lot of determinants which are important for transfer. In fact, we have more than 100 of those factors. More than 100. Who in practice should ever deal and manage more than 100 factors? That's just ridiculous. And yeah, for me it was kind of depressing, because after having read through all these research papers for more than 3.5 years, it seemed like there is no simple solution to the transfer issue. Yeah, it took me some glasses of wine and a week of imaginary depression. And then I took a second look at all these factors, and I found something really interesting. Because some of these factors are nice to know, but they offer no real practical help when it comes to managing transfer. For example, Here in the area trainees, we have cognitive abilities, which more practically speaking means intelligent people transfer more. Okay, what should we do with this information? We cannot send people through an intelligence test before they go to the training program, so nice to know. And there are a lot of those factors, which are nice to know, but offer no real practical help. And this is what I did. I dropped all the factors which only have a slight influence on transfer, so which only make scientists happy, and I dropped all the factors which cannot be influenced by HRD professionals. And then magic happened, because I ended up with 12. You can take a picture, but you get a summary as well, but feel free. So, scientifically speaking, those 12 levers are the most significant determinants and predictors of transfer of training, which can be controlled and influenced by HRD professionals. More practically speaking, those are exactly the questions we need to ask ourselves behind those levers, and the levers we can pull to systematically increase the impact of our training programs. And I've prepared such an overview for each of you. So if you want one, of course you get one. Every lever is explained in just one sentence. We do not have that much time, so one sentence has to be enough. And I will hand that out later on in this session. But before we do that, I thought it might be interesting for you to get a bit deeper into two of those levers, to show you how you can work with them, and to show you some of those tools I have promised you. And yeah, the first lever I thought could be really interesting, because I think that's the one I get the most questions about, is a lever in the field of organization, the support from supervisors. So how do we get them on board? In research, this is one of the most heavily researched levers of all. There are tons of study on the importance of this. But before we go deeper, so let's do a humming question again. Do you yourself have a line manager who supports you in transfer? Who asks when you return from your training program, oh, what have you learned? What are your ideas for applying? Who promotes you? Who says, please apply, there are opportunities? So who has a transfer supporting line manager? Please hum now. Wow, a lot of lucky ones. Great. I was at the ATD in America, and there it was silence. That was kind of crazy there. But okay. So great, perfect. As I said, it is so important that our supervisors support the transfer of training. And there are tons of studies, and I just brought one study of them with me from a company you all know, which is American Express. And in this company, they compared a no improvement group, so a group where nothing had really changed after the training program, and they compared it with a high improvement group, which showed significant increases in performance results, such as cycle times, processing speed, sales, and so on. And I want to show you the three biggest differences between the no and the high improvement group. The first was supervisor support. So people in the high improvement group, which is this one here, significantly more frequently had one-on-one meetings with their supervisor after the program, where they discussed how they can apply what they have just learned. The second difference was supervisor support. What a surprise. People in the high improvement group said that they had a supervisor who believes that training in general has a positive impact. So who see training as something which is valuable for the company in general. And the third big difference was, what a surprise, support from supervisors. People in the high improvement group said, I have a supervisor who recognizes and rewards the improvement I take. And supervisor support is nearly always among the top reasons for transfer success and failure. Therefore, the question we need to ask ourselves is, how can we promote that supervisors support, promote, and demand the application of what trainees have learned in training? And now, some of you might say, yeah, thanks, Ina. I already knew that before. The question is how? How can we bring them on board? That's the main thing for many HRD professionals. And what I learned here is that commitment beats bureaucracy. So as long as we hand out, for example, those long forms to fill in after the pre or the post-training discussion between supervisor and employees, we intensify a widespread view. The view that the supervisors have to do work for the training department. And that's, of course, nonsense. In fact, it is the other way around. In fact, it is in the supervisor's interest to have a capable, competent team. And it is their primary role as a leader to develop their people and enable them to do a really great job. And fortunately, they don't have to do it all alone, but they can make use of those of the expertise of their HR department, of external L&D consultants and so on. They can use their expertise, their tools, their resources, and so on. So we can support them, and that's our thing which we have to do in HR. We can support them to be great HR developers on site. And the way we can do it is not with those big, fancy tools, but with really, really small, doable, easy, simple things. So for example, instead of giving them a big form to fill in after the post-training discussion, why not tell them, yeah, just have a coffee to go with your employee and go through these 5 questions together to make sure that you get the most out of your training program. And we know from research that already 15 minutes conversation between employees and supervisors before and after the training significantly increase transfer success. So, in fact, there are 3 things we have to make sure that our supervisors understand. The first is, what is in for me? So our supervisors need to understand what is my benefit if I support transfer of this very training. The second thing is, I am a VIP. Most supervisors are not aware of their outstanding role in the transfer process. And it is our thing to explain it to them and to show them how important they are. And the third really, really important thing is, wow, that's easy. With those simple, small, doable tools which you provide, their HR managers, their external L&D consultants, their trainers, and so on. Okay, so now I have to take a sip. I think now, before I show you 2 tools, I think it is a good point to share some of your gold nuggets, because you are the practitioners and I'm sure you have made a lot of experience in this field. So I want to invite you now to just very, very short, just 1 or 2 minutes, turn over to your neighbor, make eye contact, that's a good way to start, and just ask him or her, how do you get your supervisors on board? What has worked and what has not worked at all? So just 2 minutes, really, really fast, start right now. Thank you so much. I think there is so much to share. Now it's maybe hard to get your attention back. It's so great that there is so much to share, and I recommend to just catch your neighbor for a coffee and maybe invite the other one as well to intensify your exchange, because it's really, really worth doing it. And I just get over to you to get some of your ideas as well. So I want to show you 2 really, really, really simple tools. The first is a self-check for managers. It looks like this. You will get a download for it at the end of the session, of course. And I chose that one because I'm absolutely surprised how effective this simple tool is. This is how it works. So before our training programs, we send it out to our participants' line managers, write them an email and say, yeah, dear supervisor, your employee will soon be joining us for one of our training programs. There is a program overview, the contents, and so on. You as a manager will benefit 1, 2, 3. And if you are interested, we also attach this self-check for managers, which you can use to find out whether you're already getting the most out of your employees' training. Just for you, no resistance, very, very simple. And then there are items on it like I have communicated very clearly that I consider this training useful and meaningful, and that it is important that he or she attends, and all the other stuff we know from research that really promotes transfer success. And then they cross their thing, and then they sum up their results, and then you can read your own evaluation. And here, we were really brave, and I was so frightened at the beginning, to be honest, because when you score low, you cannot read it, but I read it aloud. If you have less than 35 points, just for yourself, it says, with your managerial approach, you risk wasting both your team members' time and your company's money, and so on. So that was, whoa, 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 but we dared to do it with several global companies, and it worked really, really well. If you score high, of course, you get something like you are a role model when it comes to getting the most out of a training, and so on and so on. So there's the other way as well. And yeah, it's, as you see, it's really, really simple. And we were quite often surprised. So for example, at this big global automotive company, one participant came over to us and said, our supervisor came with this sheet in our team meeting, and he asked us how we would rate him on those scales because he decided that he wants to be a better transfer supporter. And I thought, what? That's just amazing, amazing. Everything works on its own. Another supervisor called me and asked me, can I also participate in this program because I want to be a great transfer supporter, and therefore I have to know the contents. So that's magic. Just with this really, really simple tool, no resistance, nothing happens at all. Not everybody does it, but it's a good way to start and a really, really simple thing. So feel free to download it and change it and gain the, the great effects. The second thing I want to show you, because I thought maybe we have some people in here who say, yeah, that's nice, but I can't get in touch with, with my participant supervisors. I just have contact to the participants themselves. I'm an external L&D consultant, so what can I do? Yeah, you can also do something, a smaller form of it, for example, by inviting them to have a trainee-led discussion. So you, again, just send out an email, but this time to your participants, and tell them, okay, as a preparatory task, I think I have a picture as well, as a preparatory task for the training, please have a conversation with your supervisor and go through these questions together. And tell us about your experience on our digital billboard or during the training program or wherever. Not everybody will do it, that's clear. But it's a first step in the right direction. And that is all it takes to make more transfer happen. And of course, there are many other things of how you can get your supervisors on board. You can invite them to your kickoff program and tell them about their outstanding role in the transfer process. Some of my customers even have own modules in their leadership development programs where the supervisors learn how to be great transfer supporters. And there's also a really, really impactful thing. You can just add a little question in your evaluation or feedback sheet. Just ask there, your participants at the end of a training program and afterwards, do you feel supported by your supervisor? Does your supervisor support you in applying what you have learned? This little question can provide you with those facts and data you need to start talking about this really, really important topic. Just a little thing, but with a huge impact. And that is exactly what I learned about transfer design. It's all about making those little steps, especially when it comes to the supervisors. So build on commitment and not on those big tools, and try to add those small, simple, easy, doable, fancy steps to support them to be great transfer supporters. Okay, so that was the first one. Yeah. We still have a little bit time. Maybe I'm talking a bit more faster now, but still I want to show you another really, really impressive one lever in the area of training design, which is transfer planning. Yes. When it comes to the end of a great training program, participants quite often look like this guy. So he leaves the training, digital, virtual, VR, or classroom training, with a big backpack which contains all that amazing stuff he or she learned in training. And he has this one sentence in mind, which he says in the feedback round, which is, I need to review all that stuff from training again and think about how I'm going to apply it. Has any one of you ever heard such a sentence? Yeah. Has any one of you ever said such a sentence? Okay. And of those who have said this sentence, has anyone had time to actually do that afterwards? Okay, I think I just hear the voices from outside. Yeah. Unfortunately, we know from research that this is not going to happen, or in most cases, it is not going to happen. Why? Because when people return from the training, there's a lot of stuff to do. On our desk, there are emails, there are colleagues, and so on. So there simply is no time to go through all that stuff again. Furthermore, we know from research that the motivation to apply what you learn is at its peak at the end of a great training program, and decreases really, really fast afterwards. We do not need research for that, but yeah, they need something to do. So, yeah. So with a decreasing motivation and no time to apply, all the great training material ends up quite often in the shelf, so unread and unapplied. What we would actually need are participants who look like her. So with a lightweight backpack, which only contains the most important information, already packed in a way that you can immediately use it. And fortunately, the researchers know quite well what it takes to pack our backpack in a transfer-friendly way. And to show you that one, I would like to take you to a little trip to the sports research field, to a study with people who wanted to do more sports. Maybe some of you have ever had that idea as well. And in this study, they assigned 248 participants to one of three groups. Every group got a different treatment, and in the end, they looked at how often people were exercising. And these are the results first. So in the first group, 38%, 35% in the second one, and 91% in the third one. And you will be surprised how easy and simple this thing is group 3 got. But let's start from the beginning. So the first group was the control group. They normally get the strange tasks, and so did they. So before the experiment started, they got something to read, something from a completely unrelated novel which had nothing to do with the experiment at all. And then they looked at how often they were exercising. Group 2 also got something to read, but this time motivational arguments of why it is important and good to do sports. As we can see here, it worked really, really well. Okay, so what did they give to group 3? What happened here? You will be surprised, because the only thing group 3 did was filling in one single sentence. And this sentence was, during the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on Monday at 5 p.m. in the gym. That was it. In research, they call it implementation intention, or we could also say a mini plan. And when I read about that for the first time, I thought, yeah, one research paper, why bother? Nothing to say, blah, 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 yeah. But then I continued reading, and the impact of this implementation intention isn't a one-time research discovery. That was found in various areas, in taking medications regularly, in stopping smoking, in eating healthier, in getting better performance results in tests, and even for students, for finishing projects on time, which is quite hard for students. So whenever we want that people really apply it, and whenever we want to increase the probability that it actually happens, we need to make sure that people do not only plan their goals, but the steps they are going to take. And of course, that's also the case in transfer. So if we want our participants to apply what they have learned, we need to make sure that they really, really precisely plan their actions. The questions we therefore can ask ourselves is, how can we promote that trainees prepare in detail and plan their actions while they are still in training? The rule of thumb here is reserve 10 to 20% of the training time for transfer planning. That's quite long. So if we think about the old classical 2-day classroom training program, that means 1 or 2 hours just for transfer planning. If you don't do it in the training, it won't happen that often afterwards, because we don't have any cognitive abilities left and there is too much stuff to do. The important thing is that do not only plan goals, but really actions. So make sure that participants really, really precisely plan what they are going to do next after the training program. And another tip from research, especially from the Stanford professor B.G. Fogg, who says use mini steps or baby steps. So don't plan those huge steps, they won't do it, but plan really, really tiny, tiny steps. So tiny that they kind of seem ridiculous. Why? Because this feeling of successfully having implemented the first steps increases our motivation and gives us the energy we need to continue with further steps as well. So with this basic idea, we know from research that we can double or even triple transfer success rates with a really cheap and easy tool. I want to show you how one company actually made sure that every training they do in their organization ends with a proper transfer planning session. And they prepared such a folder, Skills in Action. And this folder is on every desk, on every table. Whenever you enter a seminar room in this organization, you will find this little folder. And every trainer is briefed to use it. What is in there? So here on the left side, we have what I will remember. This is what is the most important stuff from training. Make sure that the backpack is not full, but really, really small. In the middle, we have how I will benefit. So this bright vision. No SMART goals. Please, no SMART goals. We get stomachache from SMART goals. We know that from research. Yeah, that's crazy. But so really a bright vision. This is what fertilizes our motivation, what we need that our gut sticks to it. And the third thing is what I will do. This is our implementation intention thing. And here we have the baby step story. So immediately on Monday, I will do this little step with a done to tick off, because this is also a great feeling, as most of us will know. So with this simple folder, that's so simple. They made sure every training ends with a transfer planning sequence. And now, after about 2.5 years working with this in that company, even the supervisors ask for it. So when their employees return from the training program, the supervisors say, oh, come in with your skills in action, let's discuss your steps. That's amazing, just this little thing. Yeah, and there are, of course, again, hundreds of ways how you can do the transfer planning thing with the fancy stuff, with tracking possibilities. Now we have a lot of apps for that as well. The important thing is that nobody leaves the training, virtual or classroom training, without having precisely planned what he or she is going to do next. Yeah. And yeah, before I now hand out these sheets for you, thank you. These little sheets, we come to the most important part of this whole session. Now something has, okay. Because, so there is a front side. I think I will just hand it up, maybe pass it over to the row. Okay, oh, thank you, Robin, that's amazing. Just one for one row. There should be enough here. So the summary on the one side is nice, but the really magic thing is on the back side. Because on the back side there is written, make more transfer happen. These are my baby steps. Now you know this is not just to, to just say I don't have anything left to say. This is important. So I would really recommend you don't trust me and don't trust research. Try it yourself. So write down what is your next baby step. Really, really small. Something like, I will download the tools. Or something like, I will tell my colleague about how important supervisors are. So really small. And be careful what you write down, because the probability that you really do it is 91%. So please start now, just 1 minute, really, really fast. Write it down. Don't trust me, don't believe me, but try it yourself. Okay. Who has written down at least one baby step? Please hum now. Ah, amazing. Thank you very, very much. 91% of you will succeed. And if you want to hear more about the transfer thing, here you can download the tools, but not at this link. Yeah, I'm really, really sorry. I was dealing so much with the slides before that the most important part is wrong here. So the right link is transfereffectiveness.com, WOL, but with small letters. Okay? So transfereffectiveness.com/WOL. If you don't find your way, just write me an email, and I promise I will send you the tools on my own, because that's really an embarrassing mistake. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so you can download the tools here. You can read my book. Now it's out in English, I think for 1.5, yeah, I don't know. So read it. There you will find a lot of more tools and all information on the 12 levers. And we also have a certification program in English now. Frankfurt is already sold out, but we have some space in Vienna. If you feel interested and want to work with other transfer nerds like me. Okay, yeah. Then I would say thank you for the moment. I wish you all the best in making more transfer happen, because implementing your baby steps could be a big, big, big steps for your company and your team. And in the end, transfer, being effective, is what makes our work as HRD professionals meaningful and valuable. Let's make more transfer happen and have a nice conference. Thank you. Thank you.